Have you ever noticed how Cardano just continues to knock down these walls, just continues to check the boxes time and time again? Well, we have something coming that, again, is going to be doing that. In fact, this is going to bring a 30 to 55x increase in terms of Cardano that everybody needs to be aware of. And I want to talk about a few other things here going on as well. We've gone from big pushback to big embrace in the crypto space. And this reset that we've just dealt with has been something that we haven't seen since 2024. Is this where things are going to get exciting? We'll discuss all that and more in this video. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So first of all, this is before the PCE reports. Again, I'm filming these videos kind of earlier on in the day, and that's fine because there are some big ticket things that people need to be aware of. The Cardano ecosystem is going through some pretty exciting developments, some pretty exciting steps forward. And, since we launched smart contracts, there's always been this pushback on Cardano. And people have said, oh, Cardano doesn't have this. And then we get it. We check the box, right? Oh, but it can't do this. Then we do that. And this step forward for Cardano is a really big one. And I'm talking about Laos. Now, Laos Lite, for those that aren't familiar, this is going to be bringing a 30 to 55x increase in throughput for Cardano, making the ecosystem more efficient, making it faster. Guys, this is exactly what you need when you talk about mass scalability. And when we talk about being the ecosystem that can handle, worldwide infrastructure for decades to come, that's why Cardano, again, is becoming one of the most prepared blockchains for when this adoption takes place. Now, other people will still say, oh, we need more liquidity, we need more stables in the ecosystem. And guys, I get it. But what you need to understand is that there are a lot of steps, a lot of boxes that need to be checked along the way. And right now, what we're seeing is Cardano is really the only one that is actually doing these things. It's fun to have retail users. It's fun to have, stable coins and all that stuff. But when you're talking about big enterprise and big governments adoption or adopting blockchain tech, that stuff isn't really going to cut it. Okay, if you have a blockchain that's going down and you're losing data or you're not logging data, that's a pretty big issue when it comes to those entities. So this is more down the road stuff that can make things fun for retail, but it's pretty important long term. Now, something else I wanted to point out here too is we're going through some pretty big embrace changes, some pretty big shifts overall. For example, Vanguard is actually exploring allowing crypto access for US clients after being strongly against it. And this is a shift that we've seen very much in this space just over the last 2 years. We've seen, big enterprises move towards embrace. We've seen governments move towards embrace. We've seen institutions really hammer on embrace, trying to get access to ADA and many other assets now. Obviously, we know via the 90 plus spot ETF filings that are currently waiting for approval. So this is the big shift embrace items that you need to be aware of. And we've obviously been dealing with a lot of fits in terms of price. There's been the manipulation like I've been talking about. And this post actually summed it up very, very well. They made you think September was going to be bullish by pumping it the first half. Now they'll dump it towards the end of the month to scare you into having no exposure for October. That's 100% right. It's like I've said many times before. You're not going to slow down adoption. You're not going to slow down embrace. Supply is dwindling in the market. And actually, there was a comment that I wasn't even going to talk about in this video, but what it said is if supply is declining at such a rate, then price would be pumping. So that's not true. And incorrect. Okay. Supply has been supply has been declining throughout the crypto market for a very long period of time. And it's a question of what is the demand looking like, okay? Because you have these points where demand finally catches up to the supply, and what happens then? Price pumps. When demand is lower than supply, price tries to come down, okay? We've been in a period where that demand has cooled. The market has felt the exhaustion, and so because of that, demand has simply reduced. That is what has allowed us to, for example, on this drop, set, slightly lower lows, slightly lower lows, slightly lower lows. A lot of it's manipulation. A lot of it's the uncertainty of capital on the sidelines. But eventually you get to this point where basically the supply or where the demand stops, right? There are people that are comfortable adding at, 70 cents. There are people that are comfortable adding at 74, 70, 76 cents, 50, whatever it might be, right? There's always a point where we basically hit this demand and then the market flips the opposite direction and then people get stuck chasing price. That's how FOMO ensues, right? So what you need to know is there's billions of ADA less available in the market than there was at the start of this market cycle. I'm going to go back and do the math again. For anybody that hasn't checked out that video, I did it probably about a month and a half ago. And we talked about how much ADA has actually been removed from exchanges in this market cycle. And the numbers are astronomical and they continue to be high. It's just like I talked about in my earlier video today. We had $20+ million worth of ADA removed from exchanges over the last 24 hours, okay? So you are very quickly chipping away at the available supply in the market, and eventually there's going to be a pretty big push. That's what I will say. Now, Tyler Burke actually made a very good post. He makes a lot of good posts. If you guys aren't following him on Twitter, I would recommend doing so. But he said was the Cardano ADA 2-day money flow chart has been putting in higher highs and higher lows since the 2024 bear market, indicating a macro bullish trend. My personal opinion of this chart is telling me there should be a major move in either direction in the coming weeks to a month. I'm betting we are going up, not financial advice. You pair this with the limited supply that's available in the market, and it paints a very, very bright picture of what's to come. It doesn't mean it's going to play out to perfection, but just understand that's the direction that the market is moving. And now look at this. Open interest sees its biggest reset since 2024. This is the exact reset that we saw right before things started to get a bit exciting. Not saying that this is, back here. There we go. Not saying that this is going to happen, for sure, right? I'm not a prophet. I'm not saying I know where the market is headed. I guess the one thing that we know is that we're headed towards big embrace in the space, but we always get these resets right before we see our bottoms, right? Or right before things get exciting in the crypto market. Actually, yeah, right before we see our bottoms. So maybe that means we go down a little bit further, but what it typically means is that we have some pretty exciting times following this. Again, take a look at this back in September of 2024. Take a look at this back again here in basically March through April of 2025. And we know what followed. So that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you as always. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below, but have a great day. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.